Hey YouTubers, today I am going to talk about COPPA, which maybe you've heard about and maybe you haven't. But I'm going to talk about it from the standpoint of why it makes my content and my personal self liable and vulnerable. It's extremely confusing. The information out there is pretty bad. If you want a really detailed explanation, this guy covers it pretty well. Facts versus fiction, FTC versus COPPA versus Lego and toy YouTubers. Here's the upshot. YouTube collects all kinds of information when people are watching YouTube. Okay, and they sell that information to advertisers. Get it? It's simple. Okay, so you understand that when you start posting content to YouTube, and you understand that presumably when you watch YouTube. Okay, so obviously there are children who are under 13 who've created YouTube channels, and there are parents who've created YouTube channels and given their children access to it. So it's not just, it's actually mainly not content creators that are at issue, it's people watching YouTube. So basically anybody who's under 13 years old who's watching YouTube, content creators aside, is up until recently is having all kinds of data collected. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that the collection of that data, if YouTube knew that their viewer was under 13 years old and they continue to collect that data and then sell that data to advertisers who want to advertise to children, then YouTube was effectively breaking the law, this law called COPPA or COPPA, whatever you want to say, COPPA, the Children's Online Protection and Privacy Act, I think is what it's called. Okay? YouTube was found guilty, more or less, of deliberately doing just that for quite a long time. As a result, I can't say officially they were found guilty because there was a settlement. So the settlement was that the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, is going to fine YouTube $170 million. Okay? The key thing that few YouTubers are really explaining clearly, and this guy did a pretty good job of it. I'll put that up there a little bit longer again so you can see. Again, it's Jangbricks, Jangbricks. What they're not explaining very clearly is that the settlement between YouTube and the Federal Trade Commission essentially absolved YouTube of any responsibility for violations. So now you have to say, well, what's a violation? Okay, so in light of that settlement, YouTube is compelling YouTube creators to make a choice. And your choice is this. You either decide your content is for children specifically, or it's not for children specifically. If it's for children, then basically your ability to make money from YouTube or all the mechanisms that make YouTube a viable business proposition are gone if you're a YouTube content creator for children. When I initially looked at this, I thought it was a good thing because it, in a way, creates an incentive for people to create content that is specifically for kids. Since the whole business model is essentially the legs are pulled out from under the table, if you're creating content for kids, I can't say that that's really much of an incentive at all. So most YouTube creators would say, no, my content is not for kids. And the reason they would say that is they think that protects them because I'm not claiming that I'm creating content for kids. Therefore, I can still enjoy all the benefits of being a YouTube creator. Here's the problem. The problem is that it isn't that you're going to create content. Well, actually, let me backtrack. Let me explain one thing here. What is the problem? The problem is that if you say your content is not for children, and then the FTC in their sweep, which they absolutely say they're going to do of all YouTube channels and content, if they determine that your content kind of sort of is attractive to children, which mine would be because it's got anime characters. Okay, there's cartoon stuff. You can go read the law if you want to, but the idea that either there's music or imagery or anything that appeals to kids means that it is attracting kids. So the question you ask yourself is, why is that a problem? Because this is what you would think. What you'd think is, no, I specifically said my content isn't for children. Therefore, it's not my fault if a child would happen to watch it. And besides, there's nothing in my content that's harmful to children or tries to sell them anything or is exploitative in any way. Wrong. You are not safe because of that. Because here's what's really going on. If you say your content is not for kids, i.e. it's for adults, then what happens is this, and this is the key. Because your content is deemed to be by you, not for kids, then all the tracking is still going on. Okay? All the information, YouTube viewers can see your content, they can make comments, but the important thing is YouTube is collecting and tracking all your data and selling it to advertisers. Now, because of the settlement between YouTube and the FTC, YouTube is no longer on the hook for quote-unquote violations. So here's the simple reality. If you say your content is not for kids, but the FTC were to look at your content and determine for any reason that it is appealing to kids, then you are legally liable for violations of COPPA, for the simple reason that your content is attracting eyeballs that might watch it, and then their information is definitely being tracked. So what YouTube actually did was they absolved themselves of all responsibility for the tracking part of it, which is the whole reason this was a problem in the first place. And the onus of responsibility has been shifted from YouTube to you as a creator. So the question you would ask is, who's vulnerable? Who's vulnerable is anyone who ever creates any content, past, present, and future, for YouTube, which in any way could be deemed attractive to children. Why? Let me say it again. Because if your content is attractive to children, even if you told YouTube, no, it's not for kids, there's not like a labeling or filtering or warning system being implemented here. That would be a good thing. No, that's not what they're doing. What YouTube is doing is they're saying, we just paid $170 million, and now we've made an agreement with the FTC along with that big paycheck that we're no longer responsible. Okay? But all the tracking continues. So if your content is not for kids, it gets tracked. If it then attracts children, you are liable as a creator for violating COPPA, which means you can be fined up to $40-some-odd thousand per video. Okay, I'm posting this because this is not a situation that I want to have anything to do with at all, and the $7 a month that I make from YouTube isn't worth having content that even potentially is attractive to children. Okay, this is a really important distinction. Really, really, really important. It's the attraction of children. It's the thumbnail views. It's the fact that there are cartoon characters. That's the problem. It doesn't matter that the content is not exploitative. It doesn't matter that I don't drop F-bombs. Nothing I do in my content actually matters much. Why? Because if it is in any way attractive to children, because of the thumbnails, because of the title, because of the cartoon characters, the tracking is turned on. And the tracking is turned on specifically because I told YouTube, no, this is not children's content. Definitely not. So now what's happening is I have content that will be tracked, as it always has been, and therefore, because it is being tracked, if it is attractive in any way, shape, or form to children under 13, I have potentially, or can be cited for having violated COPPA. This is not for creators. It's not in any way, shape, or form protective or even clarifying for creators. The whole point of this action is for YouTube to take all of the responsibility for following COPPA and shift it completely over to creators. That means quite literally anyone who has any content that even kicks the tires of appealing to children, even just is on the edges, if it's not explicitly, clearly adult-oriented content, you're at risk. And the risk is, in practice, is somebody like me who's got 1,600 subscribers going to get fined? The truth is, we don't know, but based on the FTC's own declaration of intent, they absolutely intend to file through every single channel, every single bit of YouTube content in what they call an expeditious manner, and is absolutely their intent to cite with civil penalties as many people as possible. By the FTC's own words, they describe it as, our goal here is to shoot fish in a barrel. The barrel is YouTube, the fish is the YouTube creators. Remember, this is key, and it's why my channel, as far as all this animation content, is almost certainly going to disappear completely soon. Okay? Is that this is 100% YouTube passing the buck of responsibility off onto creators. And the only outcome I can see, unless there's some real clarity about what the FTC is really going to do, unless that came out in the next maybe 3 or 4 weeks, which it won't. Okay? Because remember, up until now, it's been as obfuscated as possible. If you search this out on YouTube, you're going to find, I don't know, I'm going to say 80% of the videos that talk about this are giving not really very accurate information. There's, on the face of it, what you think as a creator will happen is that if I designate my content to be not for kids, that I'm somehow protected. It is in fact the opposite. So your choices are, you're either completely at risk, or you create content completely for kids for which you can never make any money or really get any benefit. Okay? That's the choices, actually. So for me, I don't have enough of an interest in YouTube to warrant continuing in the direction that I've done for the last year or so. But I will keep paying attention to how this progresses. But at this point, based on the letter of the law and the stated intent of the FTC, my channel specifically, because it's got cartoon characters and it's all about animation, which kids like cartoons. Remember, I'll say it one more time and then the video's over. What I do and what I say, my F-bombs, if I had them, which I don't, being in my content has nothing to do with this. Has nothing to do with this. The only two relevant factors are, is my content just peripherally attractive to children for any reason? And actually, there is no number two, because I've decided it's not children's content. Therefore, if it's for any reason even deemed to be attractive to children for any reason, which it would be, then the tracking is being done. YouTube is tracking the viewers. And now, under the new auspices of this situation, it's me who should get the fine. Okay, it's not even actually vague. I do need to be cited with civil penalties if my content is attractive to children, according to the COPPA law. Because I'm then guilty of causing young people to be tracked. And COPPA says they can't be tracked, but now the settlement says that YouTube can't be held responsible for that happening. It is what it is. This is the world we live in. I got plenty of other things going on in my life that are more interesting than fighting with stupidity on YouTube. And so you, as my very few but very much appreciated subscribers, can now know that the odds are that not only is this channel probably not going to continue, it's probably the vast majority of the content is going to be completely removed entirely. And I guess I'll say this one last thing. Initially, I thought that the content itself had something to do with this. So I was thinking I could take my hour-long videos where I'm drawing animation and just turn them into speed draws with some nice music behind it. That's not threatening to children. This is key to understand. It doesn't matter if the content is threatening to children, because the threat doesn't come from me. The threat comes from YouTube tracking them. Therefore, final time, if I say my content is not for children, and it could for any reason be even deemed slightly attractive to children, I need to be fined by the FTC. That's not a good deal for me. That ain't worth it. So anyway, you can post your comments below, but at this point, the likelihood is, as far as YouTube as a business, thing, I'm thinking we're probably done. So anyway, look forward to hearing what others have to say about it. Hope I was helpful to you in understanding what's really going on with this COPPA thing.